There comes a moment in every woman's life when she stops trying to please everyone, when she finally realizes that her worth isn't found in how much she gives, but in how much she refuses to lose. Carl Jung once said that the process of individuation begins the moment a person becomes aware of her inner world, and for a woman, this awakening changes everything. An awakened woman has met her shadow. She has faced the wounds that once made her chase validation. And through that deep confrontation, she has built boundaries that no one can break again. Today, we explore the 7 sacred boundaries an awakened woman never lets anyone cross. These are not walls of pride, they are gates of self-respect. Each boundary is born from pain, healed through wisdom, and guarded with love. The first boundary is emotional manipulation. Once upon a time, she allowed others to twist her feelings, to make her doubt her own intuition. She would over-explain, apologize for existing, and beg for understanding. But now she sees through the disguise. She no longer reacts to guilt trips, silent treatments, or gaslighting, because she understands that peace is not found in winning arguments. It's found in refusing to be dragged into emotional chaos. She chooses silence, not weakness. She chooses distance, not hate, and that calmness is her power. The second boundary is self-abandonment. The awakened woman has learned that losing herself to keep someone else is the most expensive form of love. In the past, she said yes when her soul screamed no. She bent herself to fit into places where her spirit couldn't breathe. But Jung taught that what you resist persists. So she stopped resisting her truth. She no longer sacrifices her dreams, rest, or peace to be accepted. She understands that self-love is not selfish. It's the foundation of every healthy connection. Now, when she feels the old pull to people-please, she remembers. Her purpose is not to be liked. It's to be real. The third boundary is energy exploitation. Before her awakening, she was the giver, the healer, the listener, the one who carried everyone's pain. She thought love meant endless giving, but now she knows it means balanced exchange. She no longer entertains one-sided relationships where she pours and the other only takes. Because energy is sacred. Every conversation, every favor, every presence costs something. So she gives with intention, not obligation. She has learned to walk away from people who confuse access with entitlement. She doesn't owe her time to anyone who drains her soul. And here lies a deeper truth. Her boundaries are not punishments. They are lessons in maturity. When a woman awakens, she doesn't fight for attention anymore. She chooses alignment. She doesn't chase closure. She creates it. She doesn't seek revenge. She understands karma. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries both light and shadow. An awakened woman doesn't hide from her shadow. She befriends it. Because she knows that by embracing her darkness, she becomes whole. And in that wholeness, she protects her energy, her emotions, her time, and her peace. She understands that boundaries are not about control. They are about clarity. They don't separate love, they purify it. Because when she respects herself enough to say no, she invites the right people who can handle her yes. The world may call her distant, complicated, or too much. But she smiles, because she knows what it took to get here. The nights of crying, the years of silence, the lessons learned the hard way. She has finally learned that softness without strength is vulnerability, and strength without softness is emptiness. Her awakening has given her both. And now, as she stands firm behind her boundaries, she radiates a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation, applause, or permission. She simply exists as herself, unapologetically, because she finally knows. The moment she honors her own energy, the universe aligns everything else around it. The fourth boundary an awakened woman never lets anyone cross is disrespect of her intuition. She used to silence that small voice inside her, the one that whispered when something felt wrong. She ignored the red flags because she wanted to believe in people's words more than her own instincts. But through pain, she learned the truth. Intuition is the language of the soul. It speaks softly, but it never lies. Now when her gut speaks, she listens. She doesn't need proof to walk away. She doesn't need others to understand why she feels uneasy. Her inner knowing is enough, and that is a power no one can take from her again. Jung once said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And this awakening has taught her that becoming who she truly is means trusting her own wisdom, not society's noise. She now recognizes that intuition isn't mystical. It's memory stored in the soul, the sum of every experience, every lesson, every scar that taught her how energy moves. So when something feels off, she doesn't debate it. She simply honors it. The fifth boundary is disrespect disguised as love. In her unawakened days, she believed love was supposed to hurt, that chaos meant passion, and sacrifice meant care. But she learned that real love never asks her to shrink. It doesn't mock her emotions or label her needs as too much. Real love speaks the language of safety. It respects her silence, her boundaries, her individuality. So now she no longer tolerates inconsistent affection or words that don't align with action. She doesn't settle for the bare minimum or for someone who only shows up when convenient. She would rather walk alone than walk with someone who confuses her peace for indifference. When someone tries to manipulate her emotions through guilt or shame, she recognizes it instantly. Her self-awareness has become her shield. Her empathy has evolved into discernment. And she knows that not everyone who comes with love has good intentions. Some come to feed off her light. So she protects her light fiercely, not out of fear, but out of understanding that it took her years to create that glow. The sixth boundary is her mental space. She no longer entertains conversations that drain her mind or pull her into negativity. She knows her thoughts create her reality, and she guards them carefully. She refuses to engage in gossip, drama, or small talk that lowers her vibration, because she understands that peace is a frequency, and only those who vibrate on that same frequency can truly connect with her now. Once she used to fill silence with noise, afraid of being alone with her thoughts. Now she treasures solitude. It's in her quiet moments that she hears her soul the clearest. She reads, reflects, and reconnects with her higher self. Her solitude is no longer loneliness. It's sacred space. And in that space, she has learned one of Jung's greatest truths, that what you deny controls you, but what you face frees you. Through silence, she faces her own patterns. Through reflection, she heals her emotional wounds. And through boundaries, she maintains the freedom she fought so hard to earn. People often misunderstand her distance. They think she's become cold. But in truth, she's become conscious. She no longer reacts. She responds. She doesn't argue to prove her worth. She simply walks away when something doesn't serve her soul. Her detachment isn't arrogance, it's self-preservation. Because she knows that peace is the most expensive currency, and she'll never trade it again for validation or temporary attention. The seventh boundary is her time. Time is her most sacred possession now. She no longer gives it away to people who waste it, conversations that go nowhere, or goals that don't align with her higher vision. She has learned that her presence is a privilege, not everyone deserves access to it. Before her awakening, she would rush to fix, to help, to show up for everyone. Now she moves slowly, intentionally. She invests her hours into things that feed her spirit growth, creativity, stillness, learning. She has realized that the energy she gives to others must first be replenished within herself. That is not selfishness. It's wisdom. And so, when someone tries to pressure her to make her feel guilty for prioritizing herself, she smiles and says nothing. Because she knows the ones who truly love her will never ask her to abandon herself again. She has learned to see time as a sacred circle. Everything she gives returns in some form. So she gives with awareness. She loves without losing herself. She helps without emptying her soul. This awareness has made her both softer and stronger. Her boundaries are no longer reactive. They are proactive. They exist not to block others, but to protect her peace, her purpose, and her power. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries both the anima and the animus, the feminine and masculine energies within. An awakened woman balances them beautifully. Her divine feminine nurtures, feels, and creates. Her divine masculine protects, acts, and sets limits. Together they form a complete being, not a fragment searching for completion in others. She no longer chases love because she has become love. She no longer begs for peace because she lives in peace. Her boundaries are her prayer, her protection, her declaration of self-worth, and that realization changed everything. Because the moment she stopped asking others to respect her and started respecting herself, the entire universe began responding differently. There's a quiet kind of strength that lives inside an awakened woman. It's not loud, not aggressive, not desperate to prove anything. It's the kind of strength that comes from breaking open, from losing herself and then rebuilding piece by piece. Every boundary she holds today carries a story of what she survived. Each no she says softly carries the echo of all the times she said yes when she didn't want to. Each moment she walks away peacefully carries the memory of all the nights she stayed, hoping things would change. Each boundary is both a scar and a victory. Carl Jung often spoke about the journey of individuation, the process of becoming whole. For an awakened woman, this journey begins when she stops defining herself by what others expect of her. She steps out of the roles she was told to play, the pleaser, the savior, the good girl, the one who never complains. She stops trying to fit into the mold and instead allows her truth to shape her path. And in doing so, she discovers that the purpose of boundaries is not to control others, but to honor her own evolution. Because without boundaries, love becomes confusion. Without boundaries, kindness becomes weakness. Without boundaries, compassion becomes self-destruction. Now she knows. It's not her job to heal everyone. It's not her duty to make others comfortable at the expense of her peace. Her only responsibility is to live aligned with her truth. She understands that people who are not ready for this version of her will fall away, and that's okay. Growth naturally filters energy. The ones who truly belong in her life will rise to meet her new vibration. The rest will fade like noise in the background. There was a time when this frightened her, losing people, outgrowing relationships, walking alone. But now she finds beauty in it, because solitude no longer feels like emptiness. It feels like freedom. She's not waiting for anyone to complete her anymore. She has become her own home, her own peace, her own safe place. She has learned to love differently, with depth, with awareness, but never at the cost of herself. Her love no longer tries to fix, convince, or chase. It simply flows where it's valued and received, because she knows that true love never asks her to forget who she is.
It celebrates her individuality, her voice, her spirit. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And she has finally embraced that privilege fully.
Every boundary she has created is a mirror reflecting her evolution. They are not barriers to love. They are gateways to authenticity. When she protects her energy, she honors her divine feminine. When she listens to her intuition, she honors her inner wisdom. When she walks away from what doesn't serve her, she honors her soul, and in that act of honoring herself, she becomes magnetic, not because she tries to attract, but because her peace speaks louder than any words ever could. The world around her feels the shift. People sense that she can no longer be manipulated, guilted, or controlled. They sense that her love has become selective, her time sacred, her presence powerful. And that power isn't loud, it's calm, grounded, unshakable. It comes from knowing that she needs nothing from anyone to feel whole. She has understood one of Jung's deepest truths, that everything we seek outside is already within. Validation, love, purpose, all of it lives in her. Her awakening was never about becoming someone new. It was about remembering who she was before the world told her to be small. Now her life is guided not by fear, but by awareness. She moves with grace. She forgives but never forgets the lessons. She gives but never empties herself again. She loves but with eyes wide open. There's a kind of quiet authority in her presence now, the kind that doesn't need to shout. Her silence speaks volumes. Her calmness intimidates the unhealed, but comforts the wise. She doesn't explain herself anymore because those who truly see her will never need her explanations. And when people ask her what changed, she smiles and says, "Everything," because she finally understood her worth was never meant to be proven, only remembered. Her awakening is not an ending. It's a beginning. It's the birth of her true self, the woman who no longer negotiates her peace, her energy, or her truth. The woman who knows that boundaries don't push love away. They invite the right kind of love in. In the mirror, she sees the reflection of every lesson, every heartbreak, every silent battle that led her here. And instead of regret, she feels gratitude. Because without those storms, she would never have learned how to stand so strong in her own sunlight. Carl Jung once wrote that, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." She understands that now. Her boundaries are her roots. They keep her grounded, nourished, and unshakable. Her light is her growth. It rises higher each time she honors herself. And so she continues her journey, softer than ever, yet stronger than before. awake, aware, and unapologetically free. The 7 boundaries she guards are not walls. They are the sacred architecture of her soul. They remind her every day that she has walked through the fire, and she did not burn. She transformed. And that is the essence of the awakened woman. She is no longer afraid to lose people. She is only afraid to lose herself again. Because once a woman awakens to her power, she never sleeps again.